Evidence clearly suggests that Dame time is up in Rip City. A new clock awaits in the same time zone as Lillard likely marches to the Lakers to become acquainted with the shadow of King James in order to win his first title. Be sure to click the subscribe button and check out the links in the description for more latest hoops content. Damian Lillard has become synonymous with his Dame time routine.
What's up, Linda?
You around for the 2 p.m. production meeting?
My calendar's up to date. Did you check?
Yeah, I checked, but every hour is blocked off as Dame time, so I wasn't sure.
It's always Dame time.
So, are you going to the production meeting?
2 o'clock? Nah, that Dame time happens to be lunchtime today. Sorry.
Showing up in the postseason and hitting some outrageous game-winning shots, only to crawl back into his shell after a defeat and early departure. This year, however, marks a slight but important variation to his Dame time at Portland. Not in performance, as his clutchness was on point, hitting back-to-back buzzer beaters in their Game 5 double overtime loss to the Denver Nuggets.
And he's guarded by Porter. Lillard over the top, got it.
But they have now lost back-to-back first rounds in the playoffs. A real tipping point for a team that claims to have one of the league's greatest scorers. The significance of this moment is reinforced by the stark contrast to the last time when these two met in the playoffs. Rewind to 2019, and we have the classic Denver vs. Portland 4th overtime Game 3 series. Denver was emerging, but Portland's team had already materialized and were playing some of their best basketball.
Millsap, picked off by McCollum, and it's finally over. The Blazers win it in 4 overtime.
The Trailblazers went on to win that series and ultimately made it to the conference finals. Since then, they have bowed out twice in the first round to the Lakers and Nuggets in 2020 and 2021 respectively. What's more, the latter was missing one of their stars in Jamal Murray for the entire series. Is there ever a more clear sign that Portland isn't good enough than watching the Suns sweep their opponents in the next round? The real question is, will Portland's decline be enough for Lillard to exit through the back door in search of titles? One thing is certain, he can't do nothing. If he sits still, his reliance on an average side will lead him back to where he started, a regular season wonder. Ask Westbrook how that worked out for him.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
Either Damian has to recruit assistants in order to get what he wants, or he has to be the support for another team mounting a title challenge. Which leads us to the next question. What's the better option? Recruiting or being recruited? There are far more options of ready-built teams rather than ready-made players to get to the promised land. And who's first to come knocking? The LA Lakers, of course. Word has already gotten out that LeBron James is actively recruiting for the 2021-2022 season. And it's no secret that his favorite type of player is a clutch shooter.
With my first pick in the second round, I'm gonna go with it's Dame time. Damian Lillard from the Portland Trailblazers.
All you have to do is pull up some highlight reels of Ray Allen and Kyrie Irving to understand where we're going with this. AD is pretty clutch though, right? Well, sure, when he's healthy. His extensive injury list over the course of his career would lead us to believe history will most likely repeat itself, which gives him less games and minutes, meaning LeBron will have to play more than he's comfortable with. In the twilight years of James' career, that's not ideal. In his first season with the Lakers, we saw him injured for the longest spell of his career, which ultimately cost him a playoff spot. He needs backup, and he needs it fast. Enter Damian Lillard. LeBron went after Anthony Davis for 2 reasons. 1, because he was clutch, and 2, because he knew he could get him. Lillard is not only clutch, but he's got a little more of something that Anthony Davis doesn't have: durability. He'll get his body right for competition and play through injuries if he has to. LeBron also knows he has to strike while the iron is hot because Lillard is clearly not in a good place with the Blazers right now. Cryptic posts on social media and unusual shoutouts to coaches such as Jason Kidd is cause for concern, particularly when Kidd flat out refused, stating it would put Dame and Portland's process in an awkward circumstance. The trouble with that statement is there is no process. Kidd just doesn't want to join a sinking ship, but let's park that for now. The key factor to this potential trade is that Lillard could complement both James and AD, providing a much-needed break by adding to the points tally as combinations get worked out. LeBron needs a sure thing, and if there's any dissatisfied star who still managed to prove themselves in the playoffs, it's Lillard. These rumors aren't exactly new either. Stories circulated 3 years ago that James initially reached out to Lillard before signing for the Lakers. And right out the gates, the grapevine provided hearsay of this trade at the start of the season. Let's not forget LeBron's openly assertive recruiting history either. He freely admits to actively going after players since the start of his career. The only reason there's more validity now is obvious: timing and common ground. Lillard and LeBron both had early exits from the playoffs, and yet their stats are off the charts. Dame's field goal percentage for the season is the second best in his career at .451. and he boasts an incredibly impressive effective field goal percentage of .554. Add his recent postseason heroics and dazzling NBA record of 12 three-pointers and 55-point performance in the aforementioned playoff loss to the Nuggets, and you've got yourself a contender.
Does this feel like more than just the end of a series that, you know what, big changes are up ahead?
I have no idea, man.
No idea?
I mean, we just lost a series for me.
Mix that magic with LeBron's points average, and the rest is simple math. If they combine, they will outscore you. So what's in it for Lillard? He's been playing number one for so long as the Portland King. Will he go to LA and stand in the shadow of greatness just to play second fiddle? In short, yes. Imagine you have to rely on CJ McCollum and Jusuf Nurkic every game. It's simply not enough. You need someone else to take the weight off your shoulders. Lillard doesn't need to recapture anything special. He has enough highlights to fill a Netflix series. At 30 years old, the time has come for him to start stealing his legacy, and the only way to do that is titles. We talk chips when comparing MJ, LeBron, and Kobe, but let's not forget Steph still got his. KD and Kawhi are still working towards their third. The right people are in the right conversations for the right reasons. The only one who'll remember Russell Westbrook is Russell Westbrook. Get yourself a championship if you want to be taken seriously. So what sort of package is realistic for this kind of trade? With a player like Lillard not only being so talented but also so heavily ingrained in the Blazers franchise culture, if you're Portland, you've got to ask for a lot. So you have to assume Kuzma is on the table. Pre-peak yet playoff tested, but not exactly a tough decision for the Lakers to make considering what they get in return. Drummond, has he worked out? More than Montrez, so you'd think Harrell will be the one added to the list. And then it's down to Caruso or Schroeder. LeBron loves Caruso, so Schroeder is the first to go in our opinion. Now let's factor in KCP. 28 years old and fresh from a phenomenal run of seasons that saw him be LeBron's clutch player in last year's finals. Portland can surely ask for what they like if they're squeezing everything they can from their trade star. Throw in a couple of draft picks and you've got yourself a deal. Business isn't that hard when you take emotion out of it, and believe us when we say Portland's front office will be listening very closely to offers with zero emotion. It's not like they're happy with this situation either. They've got this bright shining star but nothing to show for it. And sure, no one wants to help the Lakers. But every team eventually succumbs to the fact that if their star isn't happy, they've got to make the best of a bad situation. Maybe they'll feel backed into a corner. Remind you of anything? The Pelicans did the same for AD and picked up Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and multiple unprotected first-round picks in the process. You'll say, look how that turned out. But it's early days over there, and with Lonzo Ball's improvement and Ingram's emergence, you can't write them off a playoff appearance next year, especially with the added first-draft pick overall in Zion Williamson. Another thing to keep in mind is that no one is too big to be traded, even Anthony Davis. Why shouldn't he go? He came, he saw, he conquered, he got injured. Time to move on. The guard is changing, and if the shoe fits, it's got to be considered. The Lakers need to stir things up if they're going to get the best of the LeBron years, and they've never shied away from big and ruthless moves. It's all about price and timing, and Portland has run all out of Dame time. The bottom line is LeBron James speaks for the Lakers, but Damian Lillard speaks for this trade. If he's going to break the news, it'll be sooner rather than later, as we imagine the long talks between him and the King have reignited in recent weeks. Other suitors will of course come calling, the Celtics being the most likely candidates. But if you wanted an easy route to the final, and a shorter flight, LA has to be the likely destination. Besides, who would the Celtics trade? Marcus Smart? Jaylen Brown? Would the Blazers take slightly better quality players over the potential of the Lakers' bigger quantity of players on offer? Probably not. We've seen this story before, and it generally goes, give us everything you've got, and we'll give you our one thing that we really care about. The Lakers are certainly willing to do that, with a man averaging 27.5 points and 6.9 assists for the last 5 years. There's no better trade. Better yet, he's a star. The Lakers love their stars. It is Hollywood, after all. From the Showtime Lakers to the Kobe Shaq era, they have always been a star-driven team. Lillard is the ultimate star addition as a downtown sniper who breaks the opposition's hearts while sending his own fans into hysteria. They've got to prioritize what's important to them while Dame has to prioritize what's important to him. He's the perfect fit for LA. There's no doubt Damian Lillard will sit on the throne as one of the greatest scorers in the game. But in one fell swoop, anyone can remove him from the argument because he never even ventured to the NBA Finals. Yes, we'll remember the game-winning shot over Paul George. Yes, we'll recall the buzzer beater versus Houston. But when asked how deep he really got, the answer will always be less inspiring. A conference finals being swept by a Golden State team with no KD. Captain Clutch awaits his destiny, and one way or another, Dame time is definitely for real. But he needs LeBron like LeBron needs him, and the time for both is certainly now. Do you think Damian Lillard is on his way to the Lakers? Comment below to let us know your thoughts, and be sure to subscribe for more. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to turn on notifications to never miss another one of our videos. We'll see you next time, Latest Hoops fans. Until then, keep shooting your shot.
My whole career, everybody's been saying, he should go to this team or he should go to a bigger market and all these things. So, like, at the end of the day, if we just go and win it, then what? Where does that put me? You know what I'm saying? And that's how I see it. It's like I want that day to come. So unless the team is like we go in a different direction, we want to start all over, we want to let you go on to another team or whatever. I mean, that's the only way that will happen, probably.